Final review is Deadpool 2. Now, full disclosure, I've not seen the theatrical cut of Deadpool 2. This is a review of the Super Duper cut, which is on the special features of the Blu-ray and the digital release, which is what I've got. So, I'm going to start this by saying I think it's better than the first film. The action and the story and the characters are just really well done this time around. Not that they weren't well done the first time, but you can see they've got a bigger budget. You can see that there's a different choreographer there. They've got David Leitch, who done John Wick, the first one, and you can tell that he's doing this film because the action and choreography is like really good this time around. The most disappointing thing about this film is the jokes. Deadpool, the original Deadpool, arguably is just a comedy with action scenes. It's also a superhero film. This time around, I think the film works really well as an action film, it works really well as a superhero film, but as a comedy, it kind of falls flat. The jokes are really hit and miss. A lot of them just don't work at all. Some of them are also really repetitive. There's a constant joke about dubstep, which feels really out of place and pointless, and it just never works, and yet they repeat like 4 or 5 times throughout the film. And yeah, Deadpool 2, the Super Duper cut. I would recommend this film. I do think it's fun as an action film, as a superhero film, but if you're wanting more of the comedic elements, you might be a little disappointed. But then again, comedy is subjective, so you might love it. I will be interested in going to watch the theatrical cut, because I do think the Super Duper cut is a little on the long side. So there's an extra 15 minutes in this version of the film, and I believe they've also altered certain scenes and lines of dialogue throughout the original version. So I might go back and watch the original version to see how that compares, to see if that is better. But yeah, it is a good film. It's just disappointing that some of the jokes are bad. Spoilers now. Deadpool 2. The main thing I want to talk about is one of the villains, which is Juggernaut. So Juggernaut, one of my favourite X-Men characters, shows up in this film, played by Ryan Reynolds, who also plays Deadpool. And I like the performance. What I don't like is the look of the character. I like how they've tried to go full comic book with it, making him a huge guy, but the proportions never seem right. It looks like he's got tiny legs and a huge shoulders and torso, and it just looks odd. It doesn't look real at all. But the CGI is actually pretty good. It's just, yeah, it looks like they've tried to make him look peculiar, and yeah, it doesn't quite work that well. Josh Brolin's character in this film is really well acted, because Josh Brolin's brilliant. Great action scenes, but that's kind of all he does. All he ever does is show up and fight, which is fine. It's an action film, but they give him a brief backstory, which is basically his family's being killed, so he's gone back in time to try and kill the person who killed his family, and it's all very Terminator-like. There are jokes referencing Terminator and linking him to the Terminator. But what's really disappointing about his character is how he goes from being this intimidating, almost scary individual to then all of a sudden he's like asking Deadpool for help, despite the fact they've been fighting throughout the entire film. So the change from being a potential villain to being an ally, and then even being a good friend, is just really sudden, really quick, and it doesn't work that well. So yeah, that's a bit disappointing. But yeah, Deadpool 2 on the whole, really good film. I liked it better than the first. I loved the action scenes, particularly the opening scene of the film, which is full of action, and there's a chase with a truck going through a city, which is really well done. Domino, the character of her, she's brilliant, really fun and enjoyable. So yeah, be interesting to see where Deadpool goes from here, because as we know, Marvel has bought Fox and now has the rights to this back. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds, brilliant as Deadpool. He is Deadpool. He really just becomes that character. So yeah, and that's all I've got for this week, but just a couple of little things I want to talk about now. While we're talking about Marvel, this week they revealed the first look at Captain Marvel, the upcoming film starring Brie Larson. And I don't know much about Captain Marvel, but the actual look of her on the cover of the AW magazine, or is it AW? I think it's AW. She looks great. She looks the part, and yeah, great actress. I really like her. I've seen her in other things, so that's something. The other thing that was revealed in this was the scrolls. Again, I don't know much about them. From the comic books, they look like goblins and ghouls from like Lord of the Rings, and in this, they look like Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z. So I don't know where they've went with that. They also look like some cheap knockoff Star Trek villains. So yeah, the look of these characters I'm not that impressed with. They are supposed to be aliens, I think. So it does kind of make sense. I just think they should have been a bit more creative and original with them because they do have similarities with other things. There was also a teaser this week for the next season of House of Cards. So this is some slight spoilers. If you've seen the first 5 seasons of House of Cards, if you followed the news about House of Cards, then it probably isn't going to be a spoiler. But in this teaser, it's revealed that Kevin Spacey's Frank Underwood is dead. So yeah, it's kind of what we expected from this. We know Kevin Spacey's not in the next season at all. This season's going to be shorter as well. What I'm a little concerned about is, are they doing a time jump? And then are they going to try and explain how he died? Or are they actually going to try and show us that without it being Kevin Spacey? Because that's going to be risky. And also, Kevin Spacey, very much the main character of the show. Weirdly, he's the main protagonist and the main antagonist of this show. So what happens when you remove that element altogether? Obviously, Robin Wright's stepping up to be the main character this season, but what's her opposition? What's the antagonist? What's she trying to fight against this season? Is there going to be any of that? Because I don't know how this season's going to wrap up the story, because it is the final season. But yeah, time will tell. I like Robin Wright. I think the show is pretty good, but it's went on far too long. But yeah, Kevin Spacey has really messed things up for them. Speaking of House of Cards, kind of. Speaking of Netflix, though, definitely. Designated Survivor has been renewed for another season at 10 episodes, and I feel like Netflix has done this because House of Cards is ending, and they want a political White House set show on their network, or the streaming network, and Designated Survivor could be that. I watched the first season of Designated Survivor, and it was okay. It was like a cross between Homeland and The West Wing. When it was more like The West Wing, it was good. When it was more like Homeland, it wasn't. I don't know what happened in season 2. I don't particularly care. But yeah, this show, for it to be a success, I think it has to be more political and current and less about thrills and action. But yeah, that's that. The final story of today is probably the worst one of the week. It's sad news, sadly. Burt Reynolds has passed away at 82 years old, and yeah, he had a heart attack, I believe. Burt Reynolds, very much an old school, golden age of Hollywood kind of actor, and in the 70s and 80s, he was like the big star of the 70s and 80s. At one point, he was the highest grossing actor on the planet. He was very much what we would see now as like Dwayne Johnson, and yeah, a really good actor, underrated at times. He often went for more entertaining mainstream roles rather than big dramatic roles, despite the fact that he could act seriously and in big roles. Look at Boogie Nights, for example. He got an Academy Award nomination for that. And Burt Reynolds has said himself that he wished he took on more challenging and demanding roles because he could have really done well in them. But that being said, the films he did do, Cannonball Run is probably my favourite Burt Reynolds movie. The comedy in that film really does not hold up. It's very inappropriate now, but it's still very fun, very enjoyable and entertaining. He also done Deliverance, which a lot of people say is his best film, but I've never actually seen that. And a lot of people probably pointing out Smokey and the Bandit. So yeah, go watch a Burt Reynolds movie. I recommend Cannonball Run, but it is dated now. Watch the second one as well, that one's alright, but don't watch anything beyond that. Boogie Nights is also a really good one as one of his later films. Well, is it one of... No, I suppose it's not, it's like 20 years old now. But yeah, it's definitely probably his best performance, Boogie Nights. He did get an Academy Award, like I said. Academy Award nomination, that is. But yeah, shame he's died. But yeah, you'll be missed. And yeah, that's the end of the show now. Yeah, I feel like I've ended the show on a downer, but oh well. If you've liked what you've watched on YouTube, you could subscribe. Give me 100 subscribers for a custom URL. That's my current goal. Give me a thumbs up as well. I'd really appreciate that. Leave a comment down below. I will get to that if I have the chance. If you're watching this on Twitch, get in the chat right now. Although my Twitch app doesn't seem to be working properly. And this is like 2-3 weeks now. So there could be lots going on in the chat and I just can't see it. But yeah, nothing's showing up at all. And that is odd. But yeah, if you're watching this on Twitch, give me a follow. I will try and sort out the chat because there is something wrong there. Maybe the stream's not working. But yeah, I'm Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_GrantBurton, or you can go to forcedbygrant.wordpress.com for all of my written reviews. I'll be back next week, same time, 11 AM GMT-ish, approximately. It changes every week roughly because, well, stuff happens. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed it, but I'm out.